would go directly to that
page.
And then these all saying, and the blank pages, I'm confused, because they're there, and they're not blank.
Yeah.
And it made it faster, because now I'm trying to thumb through faster to catch up.
Yeah, I'll look at that and see what it is.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question you may be able to answer, I don't know. Do you know where one can buy
They still
a
hurt. Oh, I couldn't find
turntable?
one on lunch, so they're still the small ones.
record player?
It hurts.
My granddaughter wants one. She wants to get into vinyl.
There was, I do know a guy, I can't remember his name, I'll have to look into it for you.
Yeah.
There was a guy that, in town in Springfield, that is big on restoring a lot of that stuff.
Oh, yeah, she lives in Springfield,
And
so. She turns 13, so she's a teenager and she's
That's awesome.
really getting into
Well, that
vinyl.
vinyl sound, you can't beat it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a guy that, he'd get a lot of donations for stuff like that and refurbish it and then sell it for, super cheap, kind of like his retirement hobby.
Okay.
I'll see if I can find out who that was.
You got my email address.
Yeah. I know how to get a hold of you.
Her birthday's this month, so.
Okay.
And she just let my sister know about that.
I actually, I'm gonna ask my father-in-law, I think he may have more in storage too.
Haven't seen you for a while. How are you? The other Jerry.
I've got records now, player too.
Yeah.
Well, it's good, you got half the battle, right?
Should have kept all of them.
I got your
I practically gave away all of
figured you
them.
were. Yeah, that's what kind of what I was hoping for.
Do you have that thing for me to sign?
So you want, I could
Are
give
you both of them? Because it's the
Faster, right?
yeah, his phone number, because I don't have their email.
Okay. Yep, I have them both right there for you.
Sure. Well, we're gonna see if you guys wanna come back, and so
Sure, I'm
my-
sure.
my duty to check in with you.
I'm sure we will.
How are you? Let me get his number.
Casey, Casey, K, 541-855-1742.
I think it's July 10th. Aren't you the one? It's that one for the
How are you?
judge.
Good.
Drive 30.
I need to confirm. I think I'm July 10th, but I need to confirm. What's the first Tuesday?
You might want to check with.
2020. Sound like one.
That's what I was looking. We have like a whole folder on them, and so I'm trying to pull up ones that like applied and everything.
Last year I
So.
did.
A little bit, but the doc line.
I'll bet that last year, Grace just made them up for me.
Have them there.
Yeah.
I did have them printed before I emailed you, so if you needed them, I do have them.
I printed them off.
Okay.
We're just fine. Thank you. Good evening.
How are you, sir?
Good.
I'm going to give you this other,
We're gonna try to go.
this is Ben, his name's Ben Walker.
Well, if you can't make that one, there's another one later.
817-313-8543. He's the one that, kind of the closest we have to, leader of the disaster relief trailer.
Okay. Because, yeah, I don't know, did you guys charge for that last year, or was that?
Oh, no.
You guys just did it for free?
I doubt we, no, we wouldn't do that.
Well, that was a lot of food, so I would have figured you would have charged something.
No,
Or maybe have it, donate.
No, we.
Maybe you guys should tell them the next time. Don't just say, hey, donate, because that's a lot of money. How are you, young man?
Good. Hello, how are you? I'm getting better. Yes?
Well, good news, it's not all serious.
Good.
They don't know exactly
That's what happens. I'll check is when we fill it out in September. About 6 months ago, I thought, I'm gonna double check.
Yeah, I will double check. I want to say July.
I figured out how to manage it. I hope that's what they're gonna tell me. I think that's what they're gonna tell me.
Anybody want free access?
Yeah, I have it filling. I have it filling up.
I have it on site all really.
Because that's what happened to me. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, I'm having those issues I've never had. It's too bad.
Yeah, we passed this Claire's been aware upstairs.
summer,
They
probably
just come in and-
Yeah, I have another one.
No, I went-
As long as we have that option, that's how it's done.
But I'm not worried about it.
Good.
I don't think it's a signature line. It's not right.
You get Smoking Bear to come.
Oh, no worries.
I know
You were just fine. I was like, oh gosh, what's going on?
Sacrifice at least an hour.
I don't have anything exciting for you.
No, we will be there.
I'm totally kidding. Totally kidding. Oh, no, actually.
Smokey will be there, we just need a change room. I said, well, the bathrooms are open.
It is
so
page 4.
If I have to, I'll stay and go.
It's like 4 or 5.
Yeah, I didn't. No, I kind of flipped a little bit, clearly not enough.
I was looking at it, I was like, is that out of order? I don't think she listened.
Yeah, no, the appendix, okay.
July 1.
Good evening and welcome to the Creswell City Council meeting, June 10th, 2024. Would you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You'll notice that one of our counselors, yes.
And the records show that it is the Urban Renewal meeting,
Yes.
Urban Renewal Agency meeting, not the City Council meeting.
I will announce that, yes. So are the microphones on and working? They seem kind of flat. I don't think they're on.
I don't think so.
Let's take a brief pause and check on that.
Never, never. They never dealt with me. I sang in a quartet also.
You did? I did. What, yeah, what part?
Mostly.
Thank you very much. Okay, so you'll notice that we are down one counselor tonight. Counselor Clark Kent is not with us in person, but he is with us online. So we do have a full council. So we begin tonight with the Urban Renewal Agency,
which is comprised of the city council. In fact, the entire city budget committee comprises the Urban Renewal Agency, but the city council acts as the governing body for that. So, first of all, we need to approve minutes from the January 8, 2024 Urban Renewal Agency. So, councilors, the approval will be enacted with a single motion unless there's something from the minutes that needs to be pulled. I'm going to give you just a minute to look the minutes over since we just received those tonight. So just take a minute and take a look at the minutes. Okay, councilors, is there anything that needs to be pulled from the January 8, 2024 Urban Renewal Agency minutes, pulled for correction purposes? If not, I'm entertaining a motion to approve the minutes as presented. Councilor Clark?
I move to approve the minutes as presented.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Councilor Smith seconds the motion. Any further discussion? Council will proceed to vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. And I need to hear a voice count from Councilor Clark. Councilor Kent.
Right above it. Check the box right above it. Unverified. He's having trouble with his other email. There we go. He's on. He's muted.
Councilor Kent, are you there? Can you hear me, Councilor Kent? All right, so we're going to do this one more time. All those in favor of adopting the consent calendar as presented, please raise their hand. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. All right, so now we move to the presentation. Jim, are you giving that presentation?
Yes. Yes.
All right, thank you.
Honorable Mayor, City Council members, members of the Urban Renewal Agency. The Creswell Urban Renewal budget is before you. It's a simple one-pager. Not a whole lot of activity. It's just mostly compliance-related costs. We have to do our annual report each year on the fiscal impacts to the other taxing districts. And should we have some expenditures in the year for an unanticipated event, and it puts us in the audit category, then we'll have audit expenditures, but I'm not anticipating us to have to go there. This is the budget that was adopted by the Budget Committee, and unless you have some questions, I think that's all I have.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Piper? All right, council, if not, then I'm entertaining a motion to adopt resolution number UR 2024-01, a resolution adopting the Creswell Urban Renewal Agency budget. Entertaining motion for adoption. Michelle.
I think I'm a little confused. Aren't we supposed to do a public hearing first?
Yes, we are supposed to do a public hearing first. I missed that. I apologize. Thank you for catching that. Okay, so we'll back up. The Creswell Urban Renewal Agency will be holding a public hearing to receive public comment on resolution UR 2024-01, a resolution adopting the Creswell Urban Renewal Agency budget for fiscal year 2024-25. So the public hearing is open. If you wish to speak, we need to have you fill out a form. Forms are in the back, and bring them up. We're going to open the floor right now for public hearing on the Urban Renewal Agency budget. Hearing is open. And the public hearing is now closed. So I'm going to refer back to the council. We are now open for council discussion or questions on the budget resolution for the Urban Renewal Agency. Okay, if there's no questions or discussion, then I'm entertaining a motion to adopt the budget as presented. Councilor Castillo.
I move to approve resolution UR 2024-01, a resolution adopting the Creswell Urban Renewal Agency budget for fiscal year 2024 through 2025 as presented.
We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Councilor Osborne seconds the motion. Any further discussion? Council will proceed to vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. And with that, I'm going to adjourn the Urban Renewal Agency meeting. And I'm going to convene the Creswell City Council agenda meeting for June 20th, 2024. We begin with a public forum, and we have two individuals who signed up to speak. You'll each have 3 minutes. Please come to the podium here, tell us your name, and share with us what's on your mind. First speaker is William Kent.
Mayor, councilors, my name is William Kent, live on Cloverdale, and what I wish to address was the code report that I guess is going to be talked about in the meeting tonight. So I downloaded a picture of it, and what I have an issue with is our, not definition so much, but understanding of what a bicycle represents. To some people, it's a kid's toy left in the driveway or the neighbor. It's a nuisance. But to the homeless, it's a vehicle. It's a way to go get food. It represents so much more to them. And if you look at the code report, I counted them up. There's approximately 21 sites that were identified as you could park. And I'm probably steering it all toward the Conestoga wagons since I built them. And in the 21 places designated, I'll let you guess how many bicycle racks, approved bicycle racks there are within that 21 area. One, only one. The rest are on some on Oregon Avenue, but you can't park on Oregon Avenue. So the one that's actually approved is over here in the Pocket Park. It's on public property, it's a bicycle rack, yet somehow you've got to move your Conestoga all around this patchwork of 21 places, and it would put you several blocks from where your bicycle is supposedly secured. And given the theft rate of bicycles here in Creswell, chained or unchained, it represents a serious loss. One of my clients had his bicycle stolen from that rack while secured. So what I'm appealing is the idea that you can't take your bicycle and secure it right up behind the Conestoga. First of all, it's not on the sidewalk. It's not in an entryway. It's no way a hazard. So someone's not going to, in the dark, walk over it. Now, a bicycle left unattended somewhere else by itself, maybe. But I'm talking about one attached to the Conestoga as their method of transportation and out of the way and safe and not a hindrance. So as you go through the code, I would request that you re-examine how you're treating the bicycle. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Christina Martin.
Thank you, council members and mayor, I appreciate it. So I also am here's pretty much what he was saying, but I figured you'd like to hear from someone who actually is, that it does affect, thank you, Bill. So like he said, we don't consider those bicycles toys. They are a means for transportation to get our food at the food box, to go to work, or, whatever, so doctor's appointments, whatever. I don't have any problem with having to lock our bikes up, except for, like Bill said, there's only one bicycle spot to park them at, and my husband's bicycle has been stolen from that bicycle rack, not once but twice. One of those times it was locked up and they cut the lock. So I don't feel comfortable having to leave my bike there while we're parked way over here, you know what I mean? And so I also would like to dispute that and hope that maybe you guys can give that some more thought. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. All right. Item number 2 is mayor's report. And my mayor's report tonight has to do with the 4th of July, coming up in less than a month. So we have a tradition of the city council walking in the 4th of July parade with other mayors who may come join us and with county commissioners who may come join us. As you probably know, Creswell is the only city in Lane County with the 4th of July parade. So it's a fun tradition, and I want to know tonight how many of you think you could walk, because I need to register this. How many of you think you could walk, or you can ride a bike, or a golf cart in the past? How many of you think you could do that? Clark, Alonzo, Stacy, Shelley? Okay, so 4. All right, by my count? Okay.
I'm a maybe.
You're a maybe. I will put down a 4 plus maybe. How's that?
Count me as half.
Okay. And I will get back to you at the next work session with the details. But we generally, the parade's usually 11. We generally arrive about 10:30 in the city park. In the corner, we walk down to where we start. We walk the route, and then we're done. It's a fun way to connect with our community. All right, so I will do that. I'll get us signed up to walk in the parade. Thank you all. Okay, we move to consent calendar, and tonight I conferred with Caitlin that we don't have any items on tonight's consent calendar. Those will be coming to us at the next meeting. So we move to number 5. Nope, I skipped again, number 3, correspondence. So, council members, we have several items in correspondence. Is there any comment from councilors on correspondence received? Yes, Councilor Clark.
Yeah, so I was looking at the court, there was actually 2 pieces of correspondence that caught my eye in particular. But one that I was really curious about, or hoping that we could speak a little bit more to, was the food trucks. And just wondering, is there any regulation around showing up with a food truck or serving, or, I don't know, I just wanted to know more about that.
Good question.
Manager Amber?
Currently, the city does not have any codes or regulations regarding food trucks. However, since we have someone here, we have been doing research, and I would like to bring it to the next city council study session for review and comment.
Okay. Any other comments on correspondence? You might notice the first one, I think I referenced this before. This was one received from some folks from out of town that had visited and had a wonderful experience and sent me an email, and I asked if I could have their permission to pass it on to the Chronicle, and now the Chronicle is having correspondence with them and going to do a little article. So that will be fun. Any other comments?
I just have a question.
Yes, Councilor Holt.
The food truck that is the subject of this letter, is it on private property?
It's in the public right-of-way.
So is there no code already that would prevent that?
We don't have any code that addresses a food truck, period, no.
Yeah, we definitely need one, appreciate it.
It's a business, it's there for a certain amount of time. It doesn't really fall into the RV or the camping or anything else, so yeah, we need to look at it.
So could anybody just set up and sell something in a public right of way?
Right now?
Yeah, okay, I was just curious, thank you.
Okay, seeing no other hands raised, we will move on to the consent calendar, which I referenced earlier. We have no items on the consent calendar tonight to approve. So we move on to the administrative report, Manager Amber.
Thank you, Mayor. The first thing is the bills. I do my best to try and answer any questions you might have on the bills.
Clark.
Yes, thank you. I was curious about, and this is actually on the first page of the bills, so there was a line item for city cards and for $4,913.84. I was just wondering if you could speak a little bit more to that.
That's our credit card, our city credit card, and it has a variety of items on it. I believe mostly this one was for travel and training.
Thank you.
Okay.
The next item is the Lane County Sheriff's Calls for Service reports, and we have Sergeant Speldrich here to answer any questions you might have.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So this month, you'll notice there's a new field that I added to this report, and that is our self-initiated activity. So historically, when I put this report together, there's a lot of information that was just kind of thrown out, and that was like how many cars we stopped, how many people we talked to on a daily basis that we logged a contact with. This is an independent number from our calls above. This is the extra stuff that we're doing, stopping cars, talking to people on the side of the road, people who come into City Hall with a question, and we, take some time to answer that. And then I've also dropped in the case numbers that have resulted as part of that self-initiated activity. So that's a new field on here. You'll notice 0 Measure 11s, not a typo. We got lucky this month, so that's a good thing. And we're really sticking around the same general trends. I'm happy to report we haven't had any stolen vehicles. A lot of these property cases that you see here are, some of them are like shoplift type things where somebody has gone into a store, taken something and walked out. It's a good place right now here in Creswell. I'm happy for that as far as law enforcement goes. So I do have some news about. We have a deputy swap at the end of this month. Deputy LaFoca has fulfilled his agreed to contract, and he's going back to the main office. And he's being replaced by Deputy Bazinet, Buck Bazinet. You guys will like Buck Bazinet. He's a very nice guy, and he's gonna be a really hard worker. I'm excited to have him down here. I'm gonna miss Deputy LaFoca, but I'm excited to have Deputy Bazinet down here in the contract. Deputy Brooks, who's been on day shift pretty much the last several years, is going to be working nights for a while. So that was his choice. He wanted to work nights, and so Deputy Bazinet will be here during the day, and we'll have a good time. So I also want to note that we were lucky enough, the high school reached out to us, and we were able, the sheriff's office, Deputy Brooks specifically, was able to present a scholarship award to 2 of the high school students on May 30th. And that scholarship was in honor of Curtis Van Dersen, who, if you're not familiar, he was a Creswell Police Department police officer who was killed in the line of duty in 1973. So his family puts together scholarships each year for 1 or 2 students, and they determine who that's gonna be, and the school reached out to us and said, hey, the family really wants you guys to present the award, and so Deputy Brooks went and did that in his nice uniform, you know, not our working uniform, but he got to do that, and that's a huge honor for us, so. I'm happy to answer any questions you guys might have.
Councilor Castillo.
What jumped out at me was you had 7 speed citations this month. That's a new record, right? I think
It tied it.
It tied it?
Yeah.
Well, good work.
Yeah, just being in the right place at the right time, I guess.
Right, yeah, tied. Well, I'd say keep up the good work. Maybe we get to 10. Maybe you can surpass that 7. As much as I hear people complaining about speeders and running stop signs and so forth, I'm glad to see 7 speeding citations. It's unfortunate for the speeders. Don't like seeing anybody get a ticket, but it's good work. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I have a question. When I first looked at it, I thought, wow, 236 calls and 28 cases, that's a disproportionate, highly disproportionate amount of calls to cases. Of course, then I flipped to the other side and saw last May virtually identical. But in relation to other months, May seemed to be a much higher volume of calls to cases, and happened 2 years in a row. Do you have any hunch as to why that happens in May?
You know, it's speculation, but the weather's starting to heat up, it's starting to get sunny, people are out and about. You know, and sometimes that results in people going and creating calls for service for us, or sometimes it's just there's more people out and about to report calls for service. Particularly, you'll see that we have a whopping 50 individual welfare calls this month. That's a lot. And a lot of that results from there's one particular person who has generated a lot of those calls with some mental health problems. And so, other than that, I think it's just the weather heating up and people being out and about.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Councilor Clark.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was going to ask a question that we've heard a little bit about bicycle theft in our community tonight, and so I wanted to just follow up on that question. I know that bicycle theft is something that happens and unfortunately happens in every community, and so I was wondering if you could speak a little bit to where would that fall in terms of what type of incident that would be listed here, and then also, again, from your perspective, because I haven't asked you this question beforehand, so I don't expect you to have the answer, but would you consider bicycle theft kind of a higher rate in Creswell compared to other communities or other similar communities, or on par?
So I'm gonna answer one part at a time. It would fall under the property crimes. You know, we have had hardly any bicycle theft reported to us. It probably happens, but it's not reported to us when it does happen. You know, last month I think we had 1, and then there were none reported this month. So I'd say it's a fairly safe place to leave your bike out. I wouldn't suggest leaving your bike out, of course, but you know, we're not having a huge amount of those either, so it's definitely not a trend here.
Yes, you have the floor. You get to keep it.
Perfect. I was going to say follow-up question. Is there any recommended best practice about if there is bicycle theft? So would you recommend 2 locks instead of 1? A way to register your bike so that you know you've got the serial number, things like that?
So I know back in the day there was a registry here in Creswell on how you could register your bicycle. I've never seen that actually come to fruition here since I've been down here. I suggest to everybody, if you have any item of value that has a serial number, you should be keeping that serial number somewhere. Depending on your situation, you know, you might have 50 items of serial numbers or more, and you should have a master list somewhere so that if that item gets stolen, you can report it. With regards to keeping your bike safe, you know, obviously locked up is better. It's not foolproof. Somebody could cut the lock and take the bike. That's not unheard of, but locked up is better. At that point, I'm not sure having more than one lock would make much of a difference, because if they're gonna cut one, they're gonna cut two. And they make the, you know, the U-locks, which are usually pretty hard to cut, usually. And then they also have those wire lock, or I want to call them wire locks, but they're not made out of wire, but they're the same style where you run it through your bike and it connects back in. Any of those are good options, just a deterrent. You know, might not keep somebody who's determined away, but it prevents the crime of opportunity.
Any other questions? Councilor Smith?
Has the homeless situation become more untenable?
I'm not sure I'd say untenable.
Well, recent weekly reports, the last couple, reports of it's becoming a more constant situation and more visible.
We are consistently running into the same problem with the same people. And there are numerous repeat offenders, especially when it comes to the 72-hour rule. And it's very frustrating for everybody. There are repeat people that won't move until they're told they have to move, even if they know they're supposed to move every 72 hours. And the way the code is written, it gets posted, and then 24 hours later, they can be cited. So really, they have 96 hours to move before something happens. We're making arrests against our homeless community, and it's frustrating.
Do you have a recommendation, something that we can do to help you?
I don't. I will enforce, myself and my team will enforce the code as it's written. Whatever's adopted by the city is what we're here for. We're going to continue to enforce our, state statutes as well. But when it comes to how to fix the problem, I'm not sure what the fix is.
I think there's a lot there to be worked on. If we adjust the 72 hours and then be cited 24 hours later, would that help at all?
I think that creates a situation where there's actually accountability. Nobody wants the citation. Nobody wants to have to pay money, especially when you're in that situation. But the way the ordinance is written is that you have 72 hours. And if 72 hours pass, the sticker gets put, and then you have another 24 hours to move, and this happens, twice a week, what's really being done?
So a small measure could be adjustment or a little amendment to that would allow you to enforce a little bit quicker?
Potentially, yeah.
Has our homeless population grown in the last month?
It's about the same. There's a couple different people. People have left and people have come in. So we're still the same number estimate. I haven't done a formal census by any means, but we're still sitting around 10 that are consistently sleeping either in a vehicle or on the street somewhere every night. So there is, without getting into too many personal details, because I don't want to share other people's personal lives, there was a homeless gal here in town who is no longer here in town. She's in a better position now, and there's a current person who some resources have been offered to, and she's aware that all she needs to do is basically have me make the arrangement for her to have somewhere to go. So we'll see how that plays out in the next couple days.
Appreciate your ongoing work very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
The next report is the code enforcement report.
I think it's the city attorney report.
Oh, I'm sorry, the city attorney report. It's so little.
Okay.
There's no questions on that. Now the code enforcement report.
Mr. Clark?
Yeah, so I guess I just wanted to clarify, so, because we heard a little bit earlier, so ordinance number 557, section 1:2, so that's not one that we're hearing tonight or that we're discussing tonight as like making changes or anything, that's just, our code enforcement officer typically includes the code information, so perfect.
That's correct.
Wonderful. And then I just had another, just a kind of a clarifying question. So I just wanted to make sure that there is only one bike rack that is located within that zone that's listed on page 27.
Actually, there is a bike rack also on the corner of D and First. And Cliff, do you know of any other bike racks down there? There's more than one.
I would have to go around and look. There's several on Oregon Avenue, but that's not in the parking area, but
Are there any?
close to a side street.
Are there any at the community center?
I don't believe so.
Okay, maybe we could put some at the community center.
Thank you.
Counselor Holt?
I am curious if, it's my understanding that, is it not on? Sorry. It's my understanding that, at least I've heard it said, I don't know if this is accurate or not, that most of the code citations are as a result of people actually calling in or writing in and complaining about something.
We used to be that way. We used, about, 4 or 5 years ago, we used to be response only. But now we have a full-time code enforcement officer, and she does go around and she does do enforcement.
Okay, that's what I was gonna ask. I was curious if we're being proactive at all, because I see some things that haven't been taken care of in a few years, and I'm curious, yeah.
But we take both. If you had a complaint, we would take that, write it down, and respond to it. But she does drive around. That's most of the sign enforcement gets done by her just driving through town and picking up signs.
Okay, thank you.
So, Stacy, tying into that, here where there's reference to 54 violations, 47 proactive.
Oh, I didn't read that into there. Thank you.
Yeah. So I just, Manager Emmer, when I looked at the page 6, it's not easy to see all the numbers, but those were all the 21 sites where our in-house population can park a vehicle? Okay. Okay, any other questions or comments about code enforcement? Otherwise, we will move right along. Councilor Castillo.
Just a quick comment that I look forward to working on the food truck ordinance so that we have something fair and equitable for our businesses and for these food truck guys. I don't think that we want to discourage them, but I just look forward to working on something. That's it.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item is the building permit recap. And you can see the numbers there and how we're progressing.
Okay, any questions or comments on building permit report?
Okay, that concludes the reports.
Okay, thank you. All right, now we move down to the council action items. So we begin with item A, which is budget approval for fiscal year 2024 and 25. And I want to, first of all, just say thank you to all the members of the budget committee. I see we have one of our citizens here, Cameron, who's on our budget committee. Thank you for coming tonight. We have 7 citizens who serve on the budget committee and 7 citizens who are counselors for a combined budget committee of 14 people. And they spent 2 evenings together in May working on the budget. Also a big thank you to Jim, our budget officer, and Manager Amber, and to all the staff who puts a lot of time into preparing their areas for the budget. So thank you to everybody who's worked on the budget. We have budget hearings, we have 4 public hearings related to the adoption of the budget. The first is public hearing on the budget itself. Second is a public hearing on the proposed uses of the state revenue sharing funds. Third is a public hearing on the proposed sewer rate increases. And fourth is a public hearing on the proposed public safety fee increase. So we're going to begin with a public hearing on Resolution 2024-13, a resolution adopting budget, making appropriations, and categorizing and levying ad valorem taxes. So our budget hearing is now open. If you wish to speak, you can please fill out a form, bring it to Caitlin, and we would like to hear your thoughts on Resolution 2024-13. Budget hearing is open. Public hearing is now closed. Now we will have a public hearing on Resolution 2024-14, a resolution declaring the city's election to receive state revenues. The Budget Committee has recommended using the state revenue sharing funds to be used for work on the comprehensive plan update and community contribution for nonprofit emergency needs, both appropriated in the general fund. The hearing is now open. The council wishes to hear from everyone who's interested in commenting on the resolution. Do you wish to speak to us? Please fill out a form, bring it forward, and we'd like to hear your thoughts. Public hearing is now closed. We will now have a public hearing on Resolution 2024-19, a resolution establishing sewer user fees, sewer service fees, and charges for users of the Creswell Municipal Sewer Works Facilities and rescinding Resolution number 2023-15. The council wishes to hear from everyone who's interested in commenting on these resolutions. The public hearing is now open. Public hearing is closed. We will now have a public hearing on Resolution 2024-20, a resolution rescinding Resolution number 2023-16 and establishing a public safety fee and charges in accordance with the provisions of Creswell Municipal Code, Chapter 13.30. The council wishes to hear from everyone who is interested in commenting on this resolution. Public hearing is now open. The hearing is now closed. We move to item B, which is fiscal year July 1, 2024 to June 30, 2025 budget resolutions. And we have before us a document that says budget resolutions agenda item number 6C, should be 6B. And Mr. Piper, would you like to come and address us on all 6 of these?
Thank you, Mayor, City Councilors. As you recall, back in May, we had a couple budget committee meetings, and there was a couple weeks of questions and answers that were posted online. Ultimately, the budget committee, which consisted of this council and 7 members of the public, came together and approved the budget. Everyone should have a copy of the paper. It's also available on the website. With the approved column in it, or yes, approved column. What we're here tonight is to adopt the resolution through a formal resolution. This resolution also sets the tax rate. The levy is the $2.6705 per thousand assessed value that Creswell's had since forever, I think, and Measure 5, Measure 50 keeps that capped. And after this is adopted, it goes to the assessor's office so the taxes can be collected. This resolution is summarized, of course, but the details are in the budget. If there's any questions, I'd be glad to answer questions at this time.
All right, council, questions for Jim about resolution 2024-13. Okay, then council, it's our time now to discuss this and move towards a vote. The floor is open for council discussion. Councilor Holt.
Aren't like 2024-17, isn't that part of the overall budget? Adopting the pay scales?
Yes, it is. I think Jim's going to answer that question for us.
Yes, Resolution 2024-17 is the formal adoption of the pay scales. This lays out the steps at various levels of competency.
So why would we be voting on adopting the budget before we adopt the pieces of the budget?
Do you want me to answer that?
She's just asking about the order that it is on the agenda.
That's fair.
I have a hard time with adopting a budget when we haven't adopted the pieces of it, and so I'm curious why that is.
That's a great question. I think the budget is adopted by position without locking in the steps. Yeah, it's a great question.
I don't think that's right. It doesn't feel right to me. I have a hard time with that.
Right.
You can change the order.
Yeah, the order does.
There's, as long as the rest of the council agrees with it, we can certainly adopt the budget after we adopt all the other resolutions or have actions on the other resolutions.
So please raise your hands if you'd like to speak. Councilor Smith?
Did we have it this way last year? I don't remember it being in this order too, so I was a little confused.
This is the same order we had last year. Yeah.
It didn't click.
So this is the same order I remember it being in as well. And I don't remember anyone asking the question before, so I think that was a good question.
That's a great question. Of course, the budget is built around that pay scale. But yeah, it's the chicken and the egg, right? It's
really not. I think you have to vote on the pieces before you vote on the budget. I mean, I'm not prepared to vote on the budget before voting on the other pieces.
Yeah, that's fair.
So question, if you vote on the pieces, the council can change items in the budget up to 10%. So that could happen, or a piece could be voted down. Then how would that relate to the budget as a whole? I mean, if any of the pieces were voted down, would we then need to start the whole process over again?
It depends on what you're talking about, how much it is, and what it's in the budget for. We probably would want to sit down and take a look at the budget and see why it needs to be amended and see if we can amend it without calling back the budget committee. And if it is amended, it's amended.
So it can be amended, any section of the budget with 10% by the council. Would that necessitate a different meeting to approve the budget?
No, you would, well, again, it depends on the level of agreement. You may have to have another one if it's a split council or if it dies. But you could also adopt it as amended.
Okay. So, question for the council is, do you want to change the order in which we move forward with these items tonight? We're just going to open up the floor to the council for discussion. And I want to hear from every councilor, so Councilor Kent, Clark.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Strand. Just two things. First, it also makes sense to me the same way it makes sense to council as a whole. So I would be, all things considered, I would like to have those other ones done first and then the budget. Secondly, if we did change the order, do we have to change the numbers and the titles and everything to get the resolutions in the order they're presented and passed, or would they, just as a point of order, or would they maintain their current numbers?
That's a good question, Manager Amber. Do you have an answer for that one?
You can adopt resolutions out of order. So if you want to adopt them in a reverse order, you can do that.
Would the titles need to change on the resolution numbers 2024-?
No, you can just start at the bottom and work your way up.
Okay. All right, Councilor Castillo.
The way I understand this, either way we do this, it's still going to work out the same way. If we adopt the budget and then we go through these resolutions, it will impact the approved budget. And if we go the other way, if we do all our resolutions first, then we we would have to approve the amended budget. Is that, am I wrong?
That's a question, I think, for Jim.
Councilor Castillo, you're asking if we change the resolutions feeding into the budget, then we have to change the budget numbers.
Well, by default, it would change that budget, would it not? And I think that we only go back to the drawing board if it exceeds that $10,000.
Right.
10%.
Yeah, 10%, sorry, thank you. That's the way I understood it.
Correct.
So it really makes no difference what order we do it, because they will impact each other either way. Just because we've approved the budget does not put that in stone. We still have to go through these resolutions and approve them, which would change the budget, approved or not. Correct?
Correct. I understand your thought. I understand your thought process. So if the budget was approved as presented, but the pay scale was not approved as presented, the pay scale will still be the pay scale. So we couldn't exceed the pay scale regardless of what the budget appropriation is.
Because of the resolution.
Right. Correct, because it's a resolution.
And I'm okay doing them out of whichever order we do them, but it's just to clarify, my own thought process is that it would work out either way. I don't think that we could go through these resolutions and not affect the approved budget.
Manager Amber?
If you were to adopt Resolution 2413, and then, as presented, and then amend Resolution 2417, you would have to go back and redo a budget, but you already approved it. So I think there is a logic to this that makes sense. To take the pieces, whether you start off with Resolution 2014-14 and go down the list, or you start off at 2024-17 and go up the list, and then the last resolution that you would address would be 2024-13. Because if you made amendments to any of those, you need to make amendments to that final one.
Question?
Oh, go ahead.
No, Councilor Castillo, you have the floor still.
So then in fact, and then it would save us some time if we did it in that order.
If in fact these are going to be amended, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Manager.
Okay, so each councilor is going to speak once on this, and then we're going to make a decision. So,
I had a follow-up question for what she was saying. I apologize.
okay. So we've had two councilors speak. Who would like to speak next on the question of do we change the order for voting tonight? Councilor Smith?
I'd like to change the order to, because 13, if you accept that budget, then we're accepting the parts and pieces to it. So ultimately, I do believe we need to go through the individuals and year, and then like Manager Amberg said, if we do change one of those, then ultimately we cannot adopt the budget as presented. So ultimately, it has to be done individually. And then if we agree on those and it's all voted through, then we can adopt the budget as presented. So I would agree that I think we need to start with 14, 15, 16, 17, and then if it all passes, then we can go back to 13. It makes more sense that way.
Okay, who would like to speak next? Councilor Clark?
I'm comfortable with moving to 2024-14, and then 15, 16, and then 17th, and then going back to 13. I think that makes sense. I believe at that point that we would then need to, if we were assuming we're going to pass the budget, we would then pass it as amended. Correct?
If there are any of the resolutions that are amended, then the budget would be amended. If the resolutions aren't amended, then the budget wouldn't be amended.
Wonderful. Thank you. I'm comfortable with making the change of order.
Okay. Who would like to speak next? Norma or Councilor Holt? You do not have to speak, Councilor Holt.
This was my follow-up question for you. The way you were explaining it, it sounded to me like if we were to vote on the budget, approve it, and then move on to the other items, but didn't approve all those items, we would have to rescind the original vote. Is that not correct?
It would be problematic.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, I'm fine.
Councilor Osborne?
I'm fine with just starting with the 14 through 20, and then going on to approve the entire budget.
All right, Councilor Holt, any further comments? So I'm going to ask the council if the council has consensus to start with 2024-14, move through to 2024-17, then return to 2024-13. And the council has consensus to that. You just give a nod of the head, yes or no? Yes, okay. So we're going to move to 2024-14 and invite Jim back up to talk to us about a resolution regarding state revenue sharing funds.
Thank you. Excellent questions on the order of operations, and we'll start with the declaration to elect to receive state revenues. This resolution 2020-24-14 is just the council acknowledging they would like to collect those state's shared revenues, and that they held, also certifying a public meeting was held at the budget approval, and then again tonight. This has to go to the Oregon Department of Revenue before they will share those revenues with us.
Okay, questions for Jim on resolution 2024-14? Okay, council discussion and a motion. I'm entertaining a motion on resolution 2024-14, a resolution declaring the city's election to receive state revenues. Councilor Castillo.
I move to approve resolution 2024-14, a resolution declaring the city's election to receive state revenues as presented.
We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Councilor Smith seconds the motion. Any further discussion? Council will proceed to vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. All right. Resolution 2024-15 regarding state revenue sharing funds.
All right. Thank you, Mayor. City Councilors, this is required under the Oregon Revised Statutes to just have the council pass this resolution. It's a standard form that comes from the Oregon Department of Revenue. Just certifying that we have the services that a city is required to provide to receive revenue sharing funds. And we have listed them off here. Police protection, albeit through the contract, street construction, maintenance and lighting, sanitary sewers, storm sewers, planning, zoning, subdivision control, and water utility services.
Okay, questions for Mr. Piper? Council discussion? I'm entertaining a motion on resolution 2024-15, a resolution regarding state revenue sharing funds. Councilor Clark?
I move to approve resolution 2024-15, a resolution regarding state revenue sharing funds as presented.
Motion on the floor, is there a second? Councilor Osborne seconds the motion. Any further discussion? Council will proceed to vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Resolution 2024-16, volunteer resolution for policy year 2024-25, a resolution extending the City of Creswell's workers' compensation coverage to volunteers of the City of Creswell. Mr. Piper.
All right. This resolution will cover City Council and the Planning Commission for any on-the-job injuries. So if you get injured at work.
It will cover all of the people in all of our committees, so the airport, the Parks and Tree Board, as well as the two that Mr. Piper mentioned.
Thank you.
Yes, sorry, I forgot to mention those two. Those are pretty important, and they are involved in some events that do require us to go outside. And for example, Arbor Day is one of the events that is covered here. If one of the volunteers were to get hurt at Arbor Day, they would be covered under the city's insurance. Citywide cleanup and National Night Out, it's a big one for us. And the preparedness fair, we haven't held that in recent years, but it's on there just in case the council decides to have another preparedness fair where we bring in all the emergency services.
All right, council questions for Mr. Piper? Council discussion? All right, I'm entertaining a motion on resolution 2024-16, volunteer resolution for policy year 2024-25. Councilor Smith.
I move to approve resolution 2024-16, a resolution extending the city of Creswell's workers' compensation coverage to volunteers of the city of Creswell as presented.
I have a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Councilor Castillo seconds the motion. Any further discussion? Council will proceed to vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Resolution 2024-17, a resolution adopting the pay scales for fiscal year 2024-25 for the city of Creswell. Mr. Piper.
Thank you. This resolution will formally adopt the pay scales. There are a couple changes in the pay scale from last year. There is an accounting technician position that's added just below the air utility clerk. This position will be working heavily in our grants and capital assets and leases. We've kind of scoped this out, and we've even talked to some professional service firms that hire these firms, and we are not alone. There are many grant type people that are being sought out right now because of the amount of grant work that's out there. The assistant to the city manager was the other change, right below the county technician. That was the permit tech. The permit tech position is actually doing a lot of grant writing and other administrative work for Manager Amberg. Again, that workload is getting pretty heavy, so that changes the title. Also, there's a proposed 3% COLA for all positions, and that was based on CPI. At the time when we were drafting the budget, CPI was at 3.3%. The thought was it would go down, and it did the opposite. It's actually gone up. It went up to 3.7 in April. That could be due to tax returns. I'm not really privy to what happened there, but hopefully the prices go back down and we settle back down around 3% during the next fiscal year. So it's a very conservative number, and the following fiscal year we'll have a salary study, so we'll be able to compare to the like governments.
All right, questions for Mr. Piper? So, just to clarify, the salary study is set for 2025-26?
Right.
Okay. Question for Mr. Piper? No questions. Council discussion? All right. Then I'm entertaining a motion on item 2024-17, a resolution adopting the pay scales for fiscal year 2024-25 for the city of Creswell. All those in favor, please raise your hand. We don't have a motion. Excuse me. I'm entertaining a motion. Councilor Clark.
I move to approve resolution 2024-17, a resolution adopting the pay scales for fiscal year 2024 through 25 as presented.
And is there a second? I saw a hand go up on the screen a minute ago. Is there a second? Councilor Kent. Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Council will proceed to vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes with Councilor Smith and Holt in opposition. Now we move back to Resolution 2024-13, a resolution adopting the budget. Yes.
You're gonna hate me. I think that what I brought up for the first section actually poses the same problem for the resolution adopting the water, right? The sewer fees and stuff, because that's all roped into the budget too, correct? The airport fund, the appropriating stuff to the airport fund, that's all part of that larger budget as well, is that correct? Yeah, so I don't know that it makes a difference, but I think that it's important for us to not put the cart before the horse ever. And so I think that it would be wise of us to consider doing this a different way next year.
Manager Amber.
I really do appreciate your observations, and we will.
I appreciate things. Okay.
Thank you. I was going to say that would be a good thing for our budget officer, Manager Amber, to look at next year in the order. Because my recollection is that we've had this order for a long time.
I agree, and I've been on budget committee too, and it just, for whatever reason, today's the day I picked to go, wait, what are we doing here? So.
Well, today's a good day since today's the day we vote on the whole thing. Okay, so we will return to item 2024-13, the resolution on the budget, and I think we already have the report, did we not?
Yeah.
So I'll ask is, are there any further questions, first of all, of Mr. Piper? Clark?
I don't have a question for Mr. Piper. I just wanted to also agree with going through 18 and the rest since they affect the budget and then coming back to 13 at the very, very end.
Are you
So
proposing?
that's all.
Okay, so questions for Mr. Piper about Resolution 2024-13? All right, then the floor is open for council discussion. Okay, then the floor is open for a motion. Councilor Clark.
I was gonna say, it's not a motion, it's a question, because I just wanted to clarify. So were we talking about wanting to move forward with 2024-13? Or did we want to, I think to Councilor Holt's point, talk about resolution number 2024, it looks like 19, 20, 21, and 22, before we came back to 13.
So, your question, Manager Amber and Jim, is Resolution 2024-21 that adjusts the rental fees, is that an item that's in the budget?
Yeah, it is. Thank you, Mayor. It's in the budget as far as expected revenues. The budget adoption is the appropriations, which is the expenditure side of the budget.
So then, if the budget item is appropriations, then the sewer fees that are received and the public safety fees that are received and the rent rates that are received are not a part of the appropriations part. And then, if I'm understanding you correctly, we should move forward with this item first? Manager Amber.
A fee is not an appropriation.
Right.
There's a difference.
Yeah.
A fee is how much we're going to charge per unit. The appropriation is how much we hope we get all together. So there is a difference. There is some space in between the two there. So you can set a fee and not affect the budget.
That's That's correct. And further on Resolution 2421, the hangar leases, those are actually written in the contracts that we adjust every year by CPI. We do go through this resolution every year to make it formal and public, but it's actually written into their lease contracts.
So then it would appear that we should move forward with Resolution 2000. Yes, Manager Amber?
I just want to make sure that you know that fees are always set by City Council. Staff does not set fees. So by approving them, you're just approving the amount that can be collected per unit. You can change the size of that, that's your prerogative. And it may have an effect on the budget and it may not. So, yeah.
But it's a separate item than what we are now acting on, which is the appropriations.
Correct.
It's not on.
So we should move forward with this item. Okay. So council discussion of item 2024-13, the resolution adopting the budget. Floor is open. Councilor Clark.
I was just gonna just share, I hope that given all of the decisions that have been made so far in approval of this, that if there is discussion that that has influenced your vote, that we have not heard before, I hope that we hear that information from councilors.
Thank you. Okay, seeing no hands go up right away, I'm going to entertain a motion on item 2024-13. Councilor Clark.
I move to approve resolution 2024-13, a resolution adopting budget, making appropriations, and categorizing and levying ad valorem taxes as presented.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Councilor Osborne seconds the motion. Any further discussion? Council will proceed to vote. All those in favor, please raise their hand. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Councilor Smith and Councilor Holt voting no. All right, we move to item 6C, which is the annual LCSO Lane County Sheriff's Office contract renewal for services. Manager Amber.
Thank you, Mayor. This was accidentally left out of your packet, but it was supplied to you tonight. And you have a copy of the contract. And basically, the contract is going to go up to $1,212,619 for the current level of deputies which we have, which are 4 deputy sheriffs and 1 sergeant provided by the county.
Okay, questions for Manager Amber? Councilor Smith.
If I read correctly, we have this in the budget for next year as well, that the 5-year structure. So agreeing on this, we knew this was coming, and next year the increase will be as presented. I think it was like $1 per
Well,
unit.
I don't know what next year will be. It depends a lot on their staffing costs.
I asked this because I saw it in the budget where we had 2022, 23, then we had 24, we also had 25. So I'm just making sure, or asking if we're contracted for 5 years with a gradual increase as it were already.
I think we're actually, well, go ahead, Jim.
I was just wondering, sorry.
Councilor Smith, are you referring to the public safety fee discussion later in the packet material?
Yeah.
Yeah, that 5 years just kind of a roadmap, kind of showing where we've been.
I wasn't sure if that was actually already contracted, and I was kind of confused by this versus, that was, like you said, a roadmap or a general idea where it's going to be.
Right.
Thank you.
The costs are in Exhibit B, and we're only doing 1 year at a time. It should be noted, though, that our municipal code does require for us to contract with the county. So, yeah.
Any additional questions? All right, I'm entertaining a motion on item 6C, annual Lane County Sheriff's Office contract renewal for services. Councilor Castillo.
I move that the city council authorize the city manager to execute renewal contract for the fiscal year July 1, 2024 through June 30, 2025 as presented.
I have a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Councilor Smith seconds the motion. Any further discussion? Council will proceed to vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Item 6D, this is the development moratorium, and we will be holding a public hearing on continuing the moratorium on development. City Council wishes to hear from anyone who is interested in commenting on continuing the moratorium on development pursuant to ORS 197-505 to 197-540 based on limited sanitary sewer capacity as ordered by the Oregon Department of Environmental Quality. If you'd like to speak, we ask that you fill out a form, bring it forward, and then come to the podium, state your name, and share your thoughts. The public hearing is now open. Public hearing is now closed. So this is the item on the moratorium, and I'm going to turn it over to Manager Amber.
Thank you, Mayor. As the council is aware, we have a moratorium. The statutes only allow it to exist 6 months at a time, so we have to go over this every 6 months and re-evaluate it and put it back in place if it is so desired.
Council, questions for Manager Amber? Okay, council, the floor is open for discussion. Councilor Holt. Councilor Clark. Excuse me.
It is okay. I just wanted to just share, I guess, my commendation of the work that the city staff is doing, and I think in particular the public works staff is doing to bring as swift as possible end to this moratorium, and I'm just really grateful. I think that we're all really grateful for the work that the staff and the public works team is doing.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you to Cliff as well out there. To all your folks that are out there doing not only this, but water parks and everything else, water features. All right, any other council comments, discussion? I'm entertaining a motion on resolution 2024-18, a resolution continuing the moratorium on development pursuant to ORS 197-505 to 197-540 based on limited sanitary sewer capacity as ordered by the Oregon Department of Environmental Quality. I'm entertaining a motion. Councilor Smith.
I move that City Council adopt Resolution 2024-18, a resolution approving a moratorium on development pursuant to ORS 197.505 to 197.540 based on limited sanitary sewer capacity as ordered by the Oregon Department of Environmental Quality.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Councilor Castillo? Any further discussion? Council will proceed to vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Item resolution number 2024-19. This is a resolution establishing sewer user fees, sewer service fees, and charges for the users of the Creswell Municipal Sewer Work Facilities and rescinding resolution 2023-15. Mr. Piper.
Thank you, Mayor. City councilors. Back in February, the Water Rate Advisory Committee got together, and although they weren't required under the charter to look at sewer rates, it was recommended by the mayor and city council that they do so and come back and report potential or recommended rate increase. The rate increase that came back from that committee was 7%. This resolution is a 7% increase of sewer fees. If the city council has any questions, I can help with those questions.
Questions for Mr. Piper? Councilor Smith.
Can we go over the 7%? If I recall right on the notes, they discussed 5%, 7%, and 9%. And 7% obviously is right in the middle of that discussion. But that was based off the current needs and having just the smallest minute surplus, correct?
Right. Right. And that was looking at I think it was a $10 million debt service, or borrowing capacity at the time. We've found that borrowing might be more than that by quite a bit. And we had initial meetings with our engineers who are working on the wastewater master plan update. They kind of had the high number for us, but they were nowhere near finished. And I'm still holding out that there is a better solution for less money. We'll see. They're supposed to bring to the council some options. The high dollar fix was, just building a whole new plant, $64 million, no problem. But I think there's more shopping to do there on that solution. So with the 7% change, the sewer rate monthly increase would be about $4.39 for your typical family household. 6,000 gallons, 5,000 gallons, 5,000 gallons of water a month. Let's see if I adjust it to 9. With a 9% increase, it goes up to $5.65 increase per month.
Did you receive any feedback from the public on that? I know I haven't noticed any correspondence for
I didn't
the
receive
council,
any.
Manager Amber. Fair enough.
Councilor Clark.
Just a process question. I feel like I know the answer to this question, but I'm just going to make sure that we've asked it so that the question is out in public. And so the Water Rate Advisory Committee meets annually. So every year the Water Rate Advisory Committee makes recommendations for the water rate, the sewer rate, as well as the transportation utility fee. And so if the 7% is off, if it's too much of an increase, given information that we collect later, or that is available to us later, that would be something that we would be able to adjust annually, correct?
Correct, yeah, I really appreciate this process. A lot of times the rate studies are done for 5-year periods, and things can go wrong in a 5-year period, wildly wrong. And so every year checking in has been great. It's been a lot more predictable for budgeting.
So I'll make a comment relating back to what you said. The water rate is also evaluated every year, and every year for the last 10 years it's gone up. Sometimes not so much, sometimes more than others. This year it's not going up at all. So that's really good news for everybody who's listening and didn't know that. First time, I think, maybe in Creswell history, that the water rate is not going up at all. Sewer rate's going up because the costs are very different. And this is another interesting rate that only impacts part of Creswell. It impacts the west side of the I-5, not the east side, which is serviced by a different sewer system. So it's interesting that we're voting on a rate that impacts just half of the city. But that's how it is. Other councilor comments, questions, discussion? All right, I'm entertaining a motion on item Resolution 2024-19, a resolution establishing sewer user fees. Councilor Smith.
I move that the city council approve resolution 2024-19, a resolution establishing sewer user fees, sewer service fees, and charges for users of Creswell Municipal Sewer Works Facility and rescinding resolution 2023-15.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Councilor Osborne seconds the motion. Any further discussion? Council will proceed to vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Councilor Holt votes no. We move on to item 6F. This is resolution 2024-20, a resolution rescinding resolution 2023-16 and establishing a public safety fee and charges in accordance with the provisions of Creswell Municipal Code, Chapter 13.30. Mr. Piper.
Thank you, Mayor, City Councilors. Councilor Smith had talked about this table that's included in the agenda item summary. It's a roadmap to how we got here. If you remember back to fiscal year 1920, we had 1 sergeant and 3 deputies. There was some concerns about coverage during the week. The council 425 contract is about 5% or $1. It'll go from $18.19 to $19.19. Any questions?
Questions for Mr. Piper? Okay, council discussion. Seeing no discussion, I'm entertaining a motion on resolution 2024-20. Councilor Castillo.
I move that the city council adopt resolution 2024-20, a resolution rescinding resolution 2023-16 and establishing a public safety fee and charges in accordance with the provisions of Creswell Municipal Code, CMC Chapter 13.30.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Second from Councilor Holt. Any further discussion? Council will proceed to vote. All those in favor, please raise their hand. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Item 6G, Resolution 2024-21, a resolution adjusting the basic rental fee set forth in the existing airport leases between the City of Creswell and individual lessees of property located on Hobby Field Airport. This is Airport Manager Hummel and Mr. Piper.
Good evening, Council, Mayor. Before you is a housekeeping issue that we do every year. All the long-term leases at the airport have this adjustment piece in.
Councilor Clark.
Has there been any correspondence with those who signed the contract of the airport? Has there been any concerns?
No, we've been doing it for several years, so they're used to it.
I had one question on the resolution. It's the last now therefore talks about a CPI of 6.3%. I was just curious because we just heard about 3.3, 3 point whatever. Now it's doubled.
Yeah, that's a typo.
Oh, okay. So what would be the corrected number?
So the leases call out January of every year. The January CPI for the western region is 3.3%.
3.3%. Okay, so when we vote on this, it needs to be voting on the resolution as amended, using a CPI of 3.3%. Thank you. Other questions, councilors, for Manager Humble? Come on back up, Councilor Holt.
I just want to question the spelling of leases. Is it one S or two?
It should be 2.
It should, okay.
I know, and I think I've seen it both ways.
One, yeah, that's why I was asking, because
And
it
the
seems
contracts,
odd.
yeah, and the contracts that has leases, EES.
Okay, thanks. Just want to make sure since we're baking it in that it's good.
I appreciate that.
So just to clarify, LESS, and you're saying it's LESEES.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was thinking the E's, not the S.
No, my apologies.
Yes, it is 1 S, that should be
The resolution needs corrected then.
correct, thank you.
The resolution statement at the top, are there additional? Is it so throughout the document, it should be?
Perhaps, yes.
Yes, because under the first whereas, it's got the 2 S's as well. So again, when this motion is voted on, please say, as amended to CPI of 3.3% and as corrected to leases with 1 S. Whoever makes that motion. Okay, other questions for Manager Humble?
Yes, let's see, I thought so.
Okay, council discussion. I am now entertaining a motion on this. Please be sure to motion as amended with the 2 items. Councilor Castillo.
I will try. I move to adopt Resolution 2024-21, a resolution adjusting the basic rental fees set forth in the existing airport leases between the City of Creswell and individual leases of property located on the Hobby Field Airport as amended using the CPI of 3% and as corrected with leases with 1 S. 3.3.
As amended with 3.3% and leases spelled with 1 S in the middle. Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Councilor Smith seconds the motion. Any further discussion? Council will proceed to vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Item 6H, this is a resolution appropriating materials and services within the airport fund. Mr. Piper.
Thank you, Mayor. City Council. This item was corrected after it was put out in the packet, so you should have a new copy with the new table. The table within the resolution did not total up, and it was an Excel spreadsheet error. Sometimes I really love Excel, and sometimes I'm really frustrated with it, but caught and corrected in proofing the packet, and so made sure to get this out to everyone. The amount, the proposed change is still the same. It came to our attention through a visit from the fire chief.
State fire marshal.
State-
Fire marshal.
The fire marshal, that we needed to do some work out at the airport. That proposal, that bid came in at about 12,000.
Under 13,000.
Under 13,000. Also, we've had some legal fees that we've incurred beyond the budget that we weren't anticipating going into the fiscal year, related to the leases, particularly we'd look into tie-down rentals, and we need to make sure that those were in compliance with our grant assurances. We've also had some follow-up with the FAA on that, which included time from our attorney. So there's some changes there, and also we've had some really good weather and some better than expected fuel sales, so we have to buy some more fuel, more than we anticipated. That part of the appropriation will be offset by fuel revenues, so we're asking for a contingency transfer of $14,000 to cover the fire safety measures that need to be taken and the legal fees that weren't anticipated at the adoption of the budget. This resolution is for fiscal year 22-23 that we're in currently. And the reason this one came after the budget adoption for 24-25 was because you have to publish the LB1 with the adopted budget or amended budget by the city council. So it was, that notice couldn't change until we completed the budget process for 24-25. So we have this kind of in the end of the budget, or end of the packet rather, but this is a resolution for 23-24, our current budget year that'll end June 30.
Okay, and that's stated there, and that's next to last, actually the last whereas it's for fiscal year 23-24.
Yeah.
Okay, questions for Mr. Piper? Councilor Clark?
So the funds that needed to be expended, I'm assuming those are, we won't need to expend them again in the future.
Correct, that's a one-time thing. Yes, and they are, things that need to be done.
Other questions? Okay, thank you. Council discussion. If not, then, Councilor Clark?
I was just gonna say, I like fire safety, and so I think this sounds like a reasonable expense.
Thank you. And I think, is this related, Manager Humble, to the large purchase of jet fuel that occurred just recently that took our tanks down so low? Is that why we're appropriating $10,000 right now to buy more jet fuel?
So, yes, it was avgas that we just purchased.
Okay.
But we will more than likely have to purchase another load. So I went as far as I could with what we had. But we'll expand. I've got about 1,600 gallons left, and we'll go through that in the month of June, if not more. So I will have to keep track of that and maybe have to get another splash. So this is just in case I need another splash.
So I seem to remember this used to happen quite regularly in years past, that we'd come to the end of the fiscal year and we'd get hit with, as earlier our sergeant said, the weather was turning nice and more people can be out and flying, and we get hit. And we had just kind of estimated how much we needed for the year, and then all of a sudden we need more. Is my memory correct? This has happened before?
Correct, and part of the problem is the futility of fuel prices right now. So when we make the budget a year ago, the fuel prices were a couple bucks less than what they are now. So when you budget, you look in your crystal ball and do the best guess that you can, but I would not have thought that fuel would be close to $7 a gallon. And we're at $6.50.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Smith?
Are the margins on avgas similar to, say, 76 in your diesel or your car?
I wish. It used to be, it's not any
They said
longer. It's really hard. You have to stay competitive.
Yeah.
And we've got so many people getting pieces of our pie. We've got the state, we've got the federal, we've got Department of DEQ, we've got Department of Agricultural, we've got the underground storage tank licensing, we have the underground storage tank testing that we have to do. So every year it just keeps increasing. So that margin, trying to stay competitive, you're always playing with the numbers, trying to get so that we cover, and our biggest issue this year is credit card fees, and they have just gone up a huge amount, a lot more than what we thought that they would go.
Well, I got a good idea of the margins at, say, like 76 or AMPM, they're pretty thin as it is, so I wanted to better understand your position. The only avenue that we have that you have a little bit of leg up should be that we're a better airport, right?
And we have a lot more amenities, but pilots are also very cheap. They'll fly somewhere, they'll go 8 miles down to Cottage Grove if they think that they'll get 10 cents less a gallon.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions for Councilor Castillo?
Manager Humble, when you were looking into your crystal ball, I was trying to foresee the future, did you take into, are we taking into consideration the fire season as well? I recall last year we took a big hit as well and needed to purchase a bunch more fuel.
We have, right now I have just under 6,000 gallons of jet, which is very good. I had the opportunity in December to purchase a full load, which if I order fuel, no matter how many gallons I order, I get charged for 10,500 gallons. So I get charged the freight for 10,500 gallons. So when I get a small amount of fuel, it costs me more because I'm still getting that fuel charge or the delivery charge. So when I had the opportunity, when jet had dropped, for whatever reason it dropped pretty big, it dropped over $1. So I was able to fill my tank in preparation for the fire, and hopefully we won't have any major fires before July 1. July 1 I'll do another full order of both.
Thank you.
Okay, any further discussion, questions? If not, then I'm entertaining a motion on resolution 2024. Councilor Smith.
I move that City Council approve Resolution 2024-22, a resolution appropriating materials and services within the airport fund.
Have a motion on the floor, is there a second? Councilor Castillo seconds the motion. Any further discussion? Council will proceed to vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. We move to item I. These are the liquor license annual renewals. The City Council will conduct a public hearing on 2024-25 liquor license renewals. Council wishes to hear from anyone who's interested in commenting on this item. If you would like to comment, please fill out a form, bring it up to Caitlin, and we'd like to hear your thoughts. Public hearing is now open. Public hearing is now closed. This is item 6I, the liquor license renewals for 2024-25. We're going to hear from Caitlin.
We have our annual liquor license renewals. There is no staff recommendation. The suggested motions, I move that the City Council recommend either approval or denial of the 2024-2025 liquor license renewals as presented. With one note that the Los Cabos is not renewing their license due to the fact that they did close.
Okay, questions for Caitlin? Councilor Clark.
So then, if theoretically, if we were to move to approve, would you encourage us to say as amended to not include Los Cabos?
Thank you. Any further questions for Caitlin? Councilor Castillo.
Where is Cindy Ray Vineyard?
It is a Vince venue on Adler Lane. They're in county, so they don't actually have a license through us. We're not sure why they are included on our list. I've reached out to the liquor license board, but I haven't heard back from that. Because they don't have a license through us because they never came to the city council for permission for a license. But they were included on ours, I think just as the umbrella of Creswell. Kind of like we had the one not that long ago that was for the Edgar Allan Poe experience that was out on county property, but still somehow it still managed to make it to the city without it being, told, hey, this is county, you go to county. So it's in the same.
Thank you.
Okay, council discussion. Yes, Councilor Holt.
I don't know how comfortable I feel on approving a liquor license for somebody outside of needing it in Creswell.
Clarification,
Yes,
Caitlin?
please.
We can do it the same as the motion for Los Cabos without, as the amended for not them, because we don't actually carry a license for them.
Right, so I can't see why we would actually
Have it on
formally
our
vote on
list.
it. Yeah, that bothers me a little bit, thank you.
Councilor Castillo.
And also, did I mishear you? You said they didn't even really apply for within the city.
Correct.
Councilor Holt.
Is there anything formal that we would have to do to remove them? Or would we have to just come to consensus to agree on that? Okay, thank you.
Okay, Councilor Clark.
So I was just gonna say then, to share my perspective of this so that it's on the record, I would be in favor of approving the list as presented with the exception of Los Cabos Mexican Restaurant because the Mexican restaurant closed. Again, not a statement about their liquor sales and the way that they did that. It's just that the Mexican restaurant closed. And so it would not make sense for us to approve a liquor license for them. And then again, not a statement on Cindy Ray Vineyard and the way that they conduct business, but they're not within the city of Creswell. And so I would be supportive of not including them in this list of approvals.
Okay, thank you. So would you recommend that we, in the motion, amend it to exclude these two, or just that the council has consensus that these two are not included on the list, since they have not applied?
Yeah, it kind of all depends on how the motion is made. If you want to be the most transparent, I would list the two as being removed from the list. The Los Cabos and the Cindy Ray Vineyards. So it should be probably approved, except for those two, and then everyone can vote on it, and then it'll be very transparent.
Okay, thank you. Okay, council, any further discussion? Then I'm entertaining a motion on item 6I, public hearing on 2024-25 liquor license renewals. Councilor Smith.
I move that the city council recommend approval minus Los Cabos Restaurant due to closure and the removal of Cindy Ray Vineyard being not in the city limits and the 2024-25 liquor license renewals as presented.
We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Councilor Castillo seconds the motion. Any further discussion? Council will proceed to vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. That takes us down to upcoming meetings and to an adjournment. And I want to say to the council, thank you very, very much. This is a long meeting, and I appreciate all your time and effort. Thank you.
Thank you for passing the budget.
It's always a long meeting, every year.
It's short.
Yes.
I've kept you here longer than this.
Well, this meeting here was always a big one. Okay, thank you, Councilor Clark.
I felt like that went
Thank
crazy.
you, Clark.
Sunglasses work every time.
Stacy, I looked it up. It is 2 p.m.
It is.
Well, I've seen it both ways.
I looked it up too, and that's what made me question. I wasn't trying to say it was wrong, I just wanted to make sure.
We've already made
So
it.
we've seen, I've seen it both ways now, so.
Yeah,
sorry.
It changes how it's documented, but it just changes the contract.
Yeah.
Right, I know, but when we're doing official documents, it just, so when I look at that, I want to say lessee, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so then it made me look it up, and I was like, wait, it's saying L-E-1-S, so.
I think it's pronounced lessee.
Is it?
It is.